And hello there, and welcome to the ADIPEC Wrap. This is day 4, which means ADIPEC 2021 is over. It's come to a close. And we're all a little bit tired, but we're very energized by what has been happening in the last 4 days. Arthur Hanna is back with me, my daily commentator. I mean, now it's like you and I, the ADIPEC commentators, so I'm absolutely thrilled you're here. We'll have to live up to that. And also, though, I'm so happy to be joined now by Martha Vasquez. She is with BCG, so it's so great that she's taken the time to be with us as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, as we look back on the day, and we'll also look back on the last few days, in fact, because really it has been a very, very special time here in Abu Dhabi. And for all of you who have joined us, you know how busy it has been, how involved it has been, how inclusive it has been. And, you know, I think it's actually been invigorating. Talk to me a little bit about, you know, what you see going on. Let's look at today first, and then we'll take a bigger picture. And technology was very much the key focus for today. Again, hugely important, always at ADIPEC, but the technical sessions, but again, showcasing technology too.
Yeah, and as I talk about it, I say technology with a capital T. And what I mean by that is that we have technology in the context of engineering, we have technology in the context of material science, and we have technology in the context of digital and other ways in which digital can be helped and used within the industry. And I think today we really saw how important technology will be as the energy transitions over the course of the next number of years. We're not going to get to the challenges of emission, we're not going to get the challenges of aspects like the circular economy without using technology, big T, across all of those dimensions.
I like that, Arthur, big T.
Big T, big T.
Okay, so technology takes on a whole new sort of, what would you call it, a space?
All-encompassing.
But it is, yeah, but exciting. So when we look at the big technology, and we look at all technology at the moment in this industry, it's really driving the industry. Would you say so, Martha?
Yes, Edna and Arthur, I agree with you. However, I would add that there is two aspects that are really important that many times I feel we don't speak enough about. One of them is how many technologies are already available today that we are not commercializing and deploying at scale in our own portfolio and actually influencing, you know, our own customers and our suppliers to embrace. And the second aspect is how we can use technology to actually attract the top talent to our industry, which I believe is one of the greatest challenges we have today.
Well, apart from putting Arthur on TikTok, you know, we have to look at technology in a more serious way. No, but that was suggested, that we need to be doing a little bit more social engagement, and this industry, you know, needs to be a bit more visible and use technology. But again, you know, let's have a look to, I mean, CCUS, I think, was something everybody talked about in so many of the panels here. And is it a technology that's time has come, perhaps? Because I think you and I go way back talking about this very topic.
Well, it's absolutely come, because essentially for the industry to be relevant, we're going to have to be providing low carbon to no carbon hydrocarbons. And as oxymoronic as that is, it actually means that we have to deal with the carbon that's actually there, and it needs to be managed. And the only way that we can manage this is CCUS. But the only addition I would put onto that, Etno, because again, it was technology today, was efficiency. Because there's an awful lot of legacy infrastructure today that could be made more efficient through the application of new additions, digital twins, for example, and the utilization of that. And if we did that, there is 30% savings often in terms of the amount of energy used, and therefore the amount of carbon that goes into the atmosphere. So I completely agree. The time has come for CCUS. It's still expensive, and until a carbon price is really globally there for us to measure, then it will take time. But I think the industry recognizes it needs to move in that way, but don't underestimate the power of efficiency as well, would be my early add-on to that.
And where do you see, Martha, I suppose, the big wins when it comes to technology? I mean, what you're saying is, and I really take it on board, technologies that are already there, and we really need to upscale on that. That takes funding, of course, and you know, it takes a commercial will. What do you think is the technology that's moving us forward?
There is first not one single technology that is moving us forward. I think it is about us doing two things very well. One of them is, with the technologies we have today, really understanding what great looks like and understanding what is our starting point, and really being really systematic and structured, Edna, to making sure that we deploy with excellence and at scale. But also I think it's quite important that we put money, that we allocate money differently than than what is our tendency. I mean, when we see where people put their money is in things that are already proven, just to take them to the next level. Most of the money from private investors, I believe, has gone into electric vehicles. And shouldn't we putting more money into hydrogen or carbon capture? So I would just invite us for us to be more risk-prone, I would say, calculated, but more flexible.
And again, it looks at, when we look at investment, a lot of investment in technology. Where's the money coming from? And do you think that there's an eagerness out there to make sure that technology is funded? And I suppose it's the right technology will of course get funding.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we talked about it yesterday, the whole ESG agenda is really influencing the way investment is coming into the industry. But the reality is, and we heard this from a number of the bankers that were here, is that they're very willing to invest in technologies that are there to help us on the journey. In other words, here is a technology that is going to take carbon out. Here is a technology that is going to increase efficiency. Here is a technology that allows us to reduce our carbon footprint. These are the technologies that we see investment in. And, just walking around the floors here, it's been great to see a handful, or more than that, dozens and dozens of new companies that weren't here 2 years ago that are offering these new technologies. That's where the money's going, and that's what the industry needs.
And of course today too, as well as technology, and a lot of people did talk about technology in the diversity, equity and the inclusion panels as well. And this has been part and parcel of ADIPEC for so many years. And Martha, when you look at diversity, equity and inclusion, this is also so important that the industry addresses this. I mean, right across the board, would you think?
Yes, Edna, and I was reflecting as I was in the panels of, I think there were 3 different panels on diversity and inclusion this morning, and it was packed. And I had 2 reflections. One of them is that I would have never imagined when I joined the industry 20 years ago that we would have such huge representation from different backgrounds, different disciplines, different genders, different nationalities into a conference in a specific region. So first of all, I think we have come a long way, okay, and I really feel quite proud of that. But second, I think it is not only about a single type of diversity or a single type of inclusion. It's about making sure that we are collaborating with people within and with people across the value chain. And I think this has been your point before, Arthur. So making sure that it is not only us that we're going to solve. It's not about reducing our own emissions. It's about making sure that we're enabling our customers and suppliers to do it together. Because if we do carbon capture, the carbon capture is not only for my own assets, it's for the big emitters out there.
And again, when you look at inclusion too, I mean, all of the terminology is definitely, we have to look at it, and we had a packed conference all day today, and this is something of course that ADIPEC pays a lot of attention to, and it's very dear to our hearts in so many ways. But talk to me a little bit then about, I suppose, the wider inclusion that you'd like to talk about, Arthur.
Well, I think, we heard on day one at the opening ceremony and the speeches given there that there was a bit of a shock, really, that the oil and gas industry had been excluded from the Glasgow process. Yep. And, we are going to be taking COP first to Egypt next year and then to Abu Dhabi. So it's inconceivable that the oil and gas industry will be excluded from plenary in those 2. But, and it's a big but, we need to make sure that we're trusted by different stakeholders. And one of the comments that came back is that if we, the industry, complain that we have been kept outside of the tent, we, the industry, represented ourselves here over the last 4 days. But where are the NGOs in terms of helping that debate? And where is the voice of the activist citizen? Because they are very key to this. And so inclusion, it was interesting when we talked about the way forward, building trust, building transparency, communicating real actions rather than just vision statements, then it's important that we include and hence the inclusion word, those individuals that represent NGOs and those that represent the citizen and the industrial users. Where were the cement makers? Where were the industrial steel makers? They are demanding that we move our energy supplies in a certain way. They need to be here, part of the discussion, part of our conclusions when we come to the end of the day 4.
It's so true. I mean, and there were a few of them there.
Yeah, there were.
Mark Brownstein was here. I had a lovely interview with him, so you can have a look and see what he says. And our manufacturing summit was actually, we had some steel makers and that. But as you say, yes, I think now the energy industry, we have to recognize all of the stakeholders within it. And I think that's maybe where we expand this, because it's very exciting to realize that we have so many stakeholders that really depend on us. Martha, you know, when we look back on the last few days here, it's been, you know, a very busy ADIPEC, and it's been great to have everybody here to, you know, what are some of the highlights for you in terms of, you know, the big focus areas that now, and I think there's been a bit of a shift in the conversation as well in terms of what are we all looking for. It's about the future of energy, of course, it's about the energy transition, but did you get the feeling there's a bit more of a commitment and realism about what's going on?
Actually, the first word that comes to my mind when I think about the big takeaway of the last week is possibly there are two: commitment, and commitment with true actions, not only with targets, but with actually putting the organization to work differently and learn new things and start to deploy differently. So that is one word, and the second is collaboration. And I think it is quite clear to me more than ever, possibly, that there is wide acknowledgement that unless we are more transparent, like you say, Arthur, that we're able to be more transparent not only within but also with people outside our industry, it is going to be extremely difficult to move at pace. So I think possibly the last point, I feel hopeful. So I leave this week feeling hopeful and wanting to come back, and hopefully when we come back next year, it is going to be full of, you know, this is what has happened in the last 12 months.
And we want to see that action, Arthur. We need it. How optimistic are you?
I am optimistic, and I'm optimistic mainly because I've worked in the industry for 40 years, and we've been through a lot of ups and downs during this time. But one of the things that always comes through is the resilience and the inventiveness of the industry. You know, we often say this industry is quite conservative, and I can understand why that might be the case. But it's an extraordinarily inventive industry. You think the challenge it takes to actually get hydrocarbons to where they're needed, it's enormous. We have a new challenge. But it's a challenge that's different. It's not just a technical challenge in terms of managing the carbon, but it's also an agenda of trust and transparency. And I think everyone came back to that from day one through the last session that I was at just about an hour ago, the recognition that we are doing an awful lot to claim the direction that we're going in, but we need to back that up as much, you know, as we said here, in terms of the detail of the actions that we're taking, the commitments and the journey that we're on, such that we can become the solution to a problem, not a problem in the solution. And that change needs to happen very rapidly, but I'm very optimistic about that.
And just finally, I mean, I think, you know, as well as innovation, and we look at today that there was a lot of technology conversation and all of that, but a word I heard more this time at ADIPEC, and I've been doing this for a few years, was the word creativity. And I think when we look at engineering, we look at science, it's all about creativity, really, isn't it? You know, so I think people need to take advantage of this industry, look to the future in terms of what they're doing, and it couldn't possibly be a more dynamic and creative time in the industry. What do you think?
Possibly all this enthusiasm I have, as I said, I would have never imagined that I would be in the middle of a reinvention of the energy system. I think what we see right now, it is not natural evolution, it is just not the next step in energy efficiency. It is not just about becoming excellent, it's about really completely groundbreaking and making sure we're using things like AI that has been out there for a long time to make sure that when we use the technology to complement what we're able to do as humans. I mean, I think it is a playground for creativity.
And that's exciting, and I would imagine that you're going to be there making sure that you're encouraging everybody along the way. And just a final word from you, Arthur, because I've had you here for the last 4 days, and it's been so great to be able to just look back on every day and, just the energy I think that's been there. And really, I believe we've had record numbers. I mean, we've been busy nonstop, and I think real commitment. People are back. They want to be back in business. And also, I just think there is that connectivity. While all this technology has been wonderful for us in the last couple of years, people want to be with people to do business.
No, they do. And I think, just building on the last thing, one of the things that I do is to actually walk in the wider halls here, so that you get to see some of the smaller companies.
The nuts and bolts.
The nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
And what was really fascinating was to go out and, to build on that kind of creativity. New companies you've never heard of, providing new technologies, using AI, using machine learning, or new technology companies using new materials that need to be used in the way in which we go forward. So it's great to see, obviously, as I would call it, the great and the good where we are behind us, but it's also wonderful, wonderful to see that there is still creativity going out at the micro level. In other words, companies are still attracted to this industry because of the challenges that we face and are motivated to come up with new solutions. And for me, that's what creativity is all about.
Well, I want to thank you so much. Martha, thank you for being with us from BCG. It's been great to have you here. And of course, Arthur, thank you again for being with me. My anchor for the week. Thank you so much. So that's been it. 4 great days of ADIPEC 2021. And right now it's all about getting ready for ADIPEC 2022. There isn't a lot of break in between. It's like finish this one off, and again it's like the ink is hardly dried on those contracts, so to speak. But the digital ink, it's all happening there, and we're all getting ready for ADIPEC 2022. And of course that's from the 7th until the 10th of November. And in the meantime, keep an eye on ADIPEC. We'll have so much going on. We'll have lots of interviews to bring you, and have a look back on all of the great sessions and all of the great interviews that we've done with so many people here. All of the great minds that have been here really offering, sharing their experience with us. And that, of course, will be up on our YouTube channel, and we'll keep in touch, of course, on social media, and you keep in touch with us. So thank you so much for being with us for these past few days. It's been a real honor. It's been a real delight. I'm Apna Trainer, and we're signing off. Another ADIPEC done, and we're delighted that you were here to share us with us.